Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's workshop. We are going to be focusing on AR face tracking within AR Foundations today. Hello, I can see some people. I was just going to say, feel free to interact with the chat log off to the right-hand side. Before I kind of explain that portion, I always like to make sure that everybody can see me okay, everybody can hear me okay. Feel free to mention that in the chat off to the right. I see some hellos over there. Everybody can see me and hear me? Yeah, good. Some thumbs up, perfect. And so off to the right, I mentioned the chat. There's also a questions tab on the side there as well. Feel free to interact with that. We will be doing some Q&A at the end of this presentation. So you can add questions throughout. Our staff will be kind of answering questions in the background, but we will do our best to post some questions at the end as well and kind of go through that information with everybody. I also like to mention that these sessions are recorded. So for anybody looking to kind of go back and view the information afterwards, everyone will receive an email with the recorded version of the session afterwards to access. So that's a little bit of housekeeping to get us started. My name is Tyler. I'm going to introduce myself formally in just a second, but I also invite everybody in the chat to share where you're joining us here from today. I personally am from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I grew up in Ontario, right across the border from the United States, but I've lived closer to the Rockies now for quite a few years. And I can see, oh, we've got some people in the chat. California, Connecticut, Lee Summit. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Portugal, Brooklyn, New Haven, Calgary, United Kingdom. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us here today. So without further ado, I am going to get us started, and I'm just going to start by sharing the presentation screen with everybody here. There we go. So as I mentioned previously, today's focus is on AR face tracking in AR Foundation. My name is Tyler. I've worked at CircuitStream, been here for just over 2 years. Some fun facts about me, I guess. I worked in travel and tourism for about 10 plus years, and I am a video game enthusiast myself. Today we'll also be joined by Indica. Indy is our instructor manager. He worked in AR and VR and game development for over 7 years. And he always jokes that he has the longest name. This version on the screen is actually a shortened version. His full name is Indica, and then I'm terrible at pronouncing his last name, so I'm not even going to attempt it. I'm going to give you a little bit of a quick overview of who CircuitStream is for those who aren't familiar. So CircuitStream began in 2015 through a network of developers, designers, and creators who were pioneering the virtual and augmented reality ecosystem. CircuitStream saw a need for education and training that would empower people to build Unity and XR applications and advance the industry's frontiers. We now partner with industry-leading companies such as Unity, Meta, and Niantic, as well as leading educational institutions to offer courses and training to those looking to learn more about emerging technologies such as XR and game development. That's a little bit about us and some of our partners up on the screen. At CircuitStream, we offer a variety of courses. We do have 2 courses focused specifically on augmented and virtual reality, however, and I am going to share a little bit of that information with you quickly here. These would offer a much more detailed and extended version of the workshop education that you'll be seeing here today, for example. So in the XR development with Unity course, you'll be learning technical development skills and coding using C#. So it's definitely a lot more on the technical side and the coding side. By the end of this course, the end of the 10 weeks, you would have learned foundational Unity skills, how to code in C#, and how to develop an AR and VR application. For the interaction design and prototyping for XR course, you would be learning how to prototype and how to design for user experiences. And by the end of that 10-week course, you would have learned how to apply UX best practices and how to prototype using industry recognized tools. Both of these courses are 10 weeks long and consist of 3 hours of live online instruction per week via video conference and roughly about 6 hours of independent study as well. A great thing to note is that these live sessions are recorded, just like this workshop here today, and sent to students in case you miss one or need to go back and review any topics. We also offer daily office hours where students can drop in and ask questions they have. Great perk is that our student alum gets lifetime access to the class recordings, materials, and the office hours. So even after you do finish the course with us, we are still here to support you. And now, without further ado, it's just a little bit of a brief introduction on us and on our courses, but I'd like to invite Indy up on stage. Indy is going to share his workshop presentation here with everybody. Once he is finished, I will pop back up on stage and share a little bit about the course and pricing information in case there's anybody who's looking to register for some of the upcoming cohorts. And then Indika is going to share the final results of the workshop that we're going to do today, and then we'll do some Q&A. So with that being said, I'll let you take it away there, Indy.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Tyler, for the great introduction. Can everybody hear me okay? All good? Can you hear me? Oh, there you go. All right. Awesome. All right. So let me share my screen. I don't have a presentation, so I have this very nice looking whiteboard that I'm going to be using today because it's always easier to use a whiteboard. All right. There you go. Okay. So just before starting everything, this workshop, who has no idea about what augmented reality is? Just put an emoji, or in the chat, just put up a thumbs up emoji or thumbs down emoji. Put a thumbs down emoji if you don't have any idea about augmented reality. Oh, well, that's fun. A lot of people. All right, we got a thumbs up. All right, you're confused. Thumbs up if you know about AR, thumbs down if you don't know anything AR. Cool. All right. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be getting a very quick introduction to augmented reality and how actually we can use face tracking with Unity and AR Foundation. And I'm going to be giving you a quick introduction to what AR Foundation is as well. I'm not going to take a lot of your time. So what I'm going to do right now is, I know that you may have gotten this link before, but I'm going to share this link again. Let me paste it over here. Oops, there you go. So we're going to be using a package, right? So for Unity applications, we can create packages. We can install packages. I'm not going to go through like an introduction to Unity, right? Because it might take a lot of our time. So just go ahead and download the .unity package file, because we're going to be using some of the assets from there to do our workshop. Right. So today the whole workshop, it's not going to we're not going to be doing any coding, right? So no coding, but we're going to understand how things work and how components work within Unity, and how we can actually put them together to build a very quick AR face tracking feature. All right. So if you have questions, feel free to put it in the questions tab or the chat or the chat here itself. And I'm hoping you to follow along with me if you have Unity open. Right. So first of all, I'm going to open up Unity, because that way, you already know if you have used Unity, it takes a little while to open up. So as you can see here, this is Unity Hub, right? So if you have never used Unity, you have to install a software called Unity Hub. And then also you need to create a Unity account. So when you install Unity Hub, the first thing that you need to do is to just log into the Unity account, and they'll log you back in. And as you know, Unity has different versions. If you go to the Installs tab, you can download the new versions of Unity, right? So right now you can see I have 4 different versions of Unity: 2020, 2021, 2021.3, 0.18, yada, 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 right? So today, I'm going to be using 2022 long-term support version. But if you have 2021 or 2020 or even 2019, that is fine. There's going to be some changes, but I'm going to be telling you what those changes are. Probably I might be able to just show you some screenshots of how the past versions handle those things. But this isn't obsolete. We can use versions up to 2019, even 2018, because it's 2018 that AR Foundation kind of came up to play. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is today I'm going to be building a mobile application. So I'm going to be using Android right here, because it's easier for me to quickly build and show you a demonstration of this. If you do not have the Android module or any of the mobile modules installed, one thing that you can do is to click this gear icon right here, click add modules, and then make sure that you choose. If you have an Android device, make sure you choose Android build support, OpenJDK, and Android SDK and NDK tools. As you can see here, I've already installed all the mobile versions. There are some stuff that I haven't installed. So just like this, you can click and install. But as you can see here, these are pretty big files. So it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot of time for you to install them. So don't worry, right? Because it doesn't matter. Even if you don't have those modules, the only thing is you will not be able to test it right away, but you'll be able to build it without any issues. Okay, so there's one question. Are we using URP or the built-in render package today? We're going to be using URP, right? So you might wonder if you're not very familiar with what is URP and built-in rendering. Don't worry, URP is a way how Unity shows you 3D models, right? Shows you is render, right? There is a way how they do that. So URP stands for Universal Render Pipeline, right? So the render pipeline is actually a component of the scriptable render pipeline, and something called scriptable render pipeline. Yeah, it's all a part of the Unity matrix. So let's just go ahead and create a new project. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click new project right over here. Right, so let me just do it again. Click new project. And from here, I'm going to choose 3D URP. Right, as you can see here, it says 3D Universal Render Pipeline. Why we use this is because we are going to be using one cool feature, which I'm gonna explain to you when we're doing it. Right? Okay. So as you can see, you can choose the location. Don't choose my project as the name of the project. Just choose something nice, right? So in this case, I'm going to use AR Foundation face tracking. Okay, what if we don't have 3D URP core? Okay, so if you do not have 3D URP core, scroll over down and see whether you can find something which looks like this. Right? Oh, yeah. It takes a while. It takes a while. So, like for example, in my case, I have a template called 3D HDRP when I scroll down, right? And sometimes it doesn't allow you to download it. What I'm going to do is I just have to click download template. But I'm not going to do this because it's HDRP. It's not URP. I only have sample scene URP. Oh, that's fine. If you have 3D sample scene URP, that's fine, but it's going to give you some stuff like this. It's going to give you some assets in the beginning, and it's going to take a little while for you to load the project, but that's okay. If you have this, it's fine. Just open it up. Or even if you don't have it, but if you have 3D, just go ahead and do this. It's fine. Because like we are using URP, but even without URP, we are like, the whole point of today's workshop is to use AR Foundation, right? It's not about rendering. So don't worry about it. Just make sure that it's 3D, right? 3D or 3D URP, but 3D URP is preferred. If you have 3D URP sample scene, just go ahead and download that. That's fine. All right. Now, I am going to click Create Project. You click Create Project. I'm not going to do that because I already have it open, right? Okay, so let me open this. Cool. So I'm going to give you like about 5 minutes so that your whole project is going to open up. While that is opening up, I'm going to be talking about AR Foundation, right? So when it comes to augmented reality, we have different kinds of AR, right? We have different kinds of AR. I think I downloaded some. I have a silly question. Is AR Foundation a software? That is what I'm going to talk right now. Okay, I just downloaded some images, right? So if you have been an AR enthusiast since 2010s or 2000, like even before, AR has been around since like 20, 30 years, but there were no like proper devices. There were no proper devices or no proper hardware to test that. Initially, people have built things called marker-based recognition. Yeah, exactly. If Google Glass is not even an AR headset, it's just a heads-up display. So people started this, which is called marker-based tracking, right? So they used a known QR code kind of a thing as a marker, and using some computer vision algorithms, computer vision calculations, they understood the perspective of this, right? So this is known as marker-based tracking. And then people have invented more technologies to understand the context around you. So like we don't really have a necessary marker or an image or something like that, but instead we have the whole world around us. So people started using computational algorithms known as SLAM. You might have heard of it, SLAM, simultaneous localization and mapping. So these kind of technologies to understand the world around you. So it kind of creates this virtual map, a virtual world within the device, so that when you pop out a 3D model on top of it, you can actually see the illusion that a 3D model is just walking around you, right? So this thing is known as markerless tracking, no markers, right? Another point of markerless tracking is so it's kind of like in between. It's a marker and it's not a marker, right? It is face tracking. So there are a countless number of algorithms that are available right now to understand the pose of your face, the movements of your face, by using like different technologies, right? Apple, on the other hand, they're using something called a LiDAR sensor. I'm not sure you can see this. So if you have an Apple device and if you have like a small, if you have this, facial tracking thing. So this is not it's kind of like a LiDAR sensor, but they have a specific infrared tracking to understand the points more accurately, right? So if you have an Android device, so this is an Android device, it just has a camera. It doesn't have any it doesn't have any hardware features to understand it. So it's using like completely software features to understand the world. So somehow it tracks your face, right? And then it creates this virtual environment, a mini virtual environment, and it gives us the data so we can kind of add stuff on it, right? It kind of adds stuff on it. So just to give you a quick idea, let me just quickly, just finicky, a little finicky. Yeah. So what it gives you, so if this is your mobile device, right? In Unity, what it does is it takes your camera input, right? It takes your camera input and projects your face, right? This is your face. There you go. This is David. David's face is projected in Unity. And what Unity does is Unity creates this virtual 3D model kind of a thing inside the 3D world, right? Inside the 3D world. So it's kind of like a mesh, right? And what we do is we only get access to this. So what we do is we place a 3D model in front of it, right? We place a 3D model in front of it. And the AR foundation or whatever the AR algorithm that we use, it kind of maps this camera to the mobile phone's camera. So it kind of gives you the illusion that David is wearing a sunglass, right? Not the virtual 3D model, but it's David who's wearing it. There you go. Awesome. Okay, so this is the whole idea, right? So people have been using like different algorithms. Most of these algorithms were paid to be used. Apple bought a company called Meta.io, and they came up with their own version of AR tracking feature known as AR Kit. You may have heard of this, right? And then during the same period, Google also released something called AR Core. And this was around 2018 and 2017. I remember building the same application twice, one for an Android device and one for an Apple device, right? Because AR Core and AR Kit were like two different devices, two different frameworks. AR Core ran only on Android devices, right? Android devices, but AR Kit ran only on iOS devices. So there are features that we had to implement separately. But Unity as a god, as an angel came out and says, you're using Unity to build ARCo and ARKit apps, but I'm going to make it more easier for you, and I'm going to make something called AR Foundation. Right? I'm going to make something called AR Foundation, and just use AR Foundation. I will take care of these two guys. From behind the curtains. From behind the curtains, AR Foundation is taking care of ARKit and AR Core, right? AR Foundation is the one that we are going to be using to build something. Okay, so theory parts are over, and now let's see how we can actually build this, right? So the first thing that I want you to do is to import that package that I shared with you. Let me share this link again. Just download this Unity package and just double click on it. Let me just do it by myself over here too. Let's see if I'm going to download it myself. All right, I have it right here. Okay, so if you click on it, you will be able to see something like this. Or double click on it, or you can just drag and drop it onto Unity. You'll be something like this. You can see that I have a sunglass 3D model and something called prefabs and some materials, some files that you might have never heard of before, which is fine. Just go ahead and click import. All right. Now, if you expand the assets folder over here in this project window, you'll be able to see that we have something called AR face filter. And inside of that, just go ahead and import it. It's some 3D models that you can import. Even if you don't have 3D models, that's okay, right? If you don't feel like importing this, that's fine. But just import it because I have like a sunglass 3D model there. Yes, you have to drag it into your assets folder area, or just double click on it. Or there's another way. You can go to assets, import package, right? Select custom package. And from here, you can choose where your package is. I'm just going to close it for the moment. Right. Okay. Now, as I told you before, Unity is the one who's handling the AR Foundation part, right? And the other thing is I'm going to be building this to my Android device. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to convert this whole project into Android. So it's going to be easier for me when I'm going to be building this, right? So the first thing that I'm going to do is to go to File, Build Settings, right? File, Build Settings, and when you choose this, when you see this window, just click Android and select Switch Platform, right? If you don't see something like this, or if you see something like this, don't worry, you don't need to do it right now because you haven't installed those modules that I mentioned you before, right? So you have to go ahead and install the Android module, otherwise you'll not be able to build for an Android device. Just go ahead and click Android and select Switch Platform. All right. Okay, so basically what happens here is that your Unity version, it kind of converts some of your assets into a format that only Android can understand, right? You can see like compiling, importing, shading, there's a bunch of stuff happening right now. So that means it's to be prepared to be built for Android. All right. Let me see if we have any questions so far. No time to answer questions. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is, now it is time for us to install AR Foundation, right? Install AR Foundation and supporting plugins. Okay, I don't know why it's building again. Let's give it a time. Let's give it some time. Right, what are the questions? Are we using URP or built-in rendering package? URP, but standalone. Okay, is LiDAR more powerful than an Android device? Okay, I've installed the Android module, but it doesn't load. probably you might need to restart your whole project with that specific version. But if you don't see it right now, don't worry, because we don't have time to go through that whole thing. So you can continue. You can continue with it. You can continue with the development of this, right? Okay. So now that I've converted this to Android module, now it is the time for us to install some packages and change some settings. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is to go to something called the package manager, right? And as I told you, AR Foundation is something that Unity has given to us. So we need to install a specific package in order for this AR thing to work, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Window. You can follow along with me. Window, and choose Package Manager. Right. Now over here, you will be able to see this Package Manager window. The first thing that you need to do is, click this drop down, right? So Package Manager has like different tabs, but I don't know why they've done it like this. They should have just put it in the window menu itself, probably because it's kind of managing all the plugins at the same time. But what we need to choose is Unity Registry. So what this does is it just talks to Unity Registry, which allows us to download some packages and install it in our project. Right. So as you know, what we're going to be doing is finding AR Foundation. And there you go. AR Foundation. Okay. So as you can see, AR Foundation, the version that I have is 5.0.6. Anybody has different versions rather than 5.06? Who has different versions than 5.06? If you have different versions, just go ahead and put it in the chat. Not 5.06. All right, me, what is the version? 4.2.8, 4.1.1.3, 4.28. All right. Okay, no worries. I will be explaining things so that you will be, if you don't have what I have, then I'll show you like what you may have, right? So don't worry. Okay, anyway, just go ahead and install AR Foundation, right? Click AR Foundation and click install. So if you have AR Foundation version 5 or more than that, your Unity will do a restart, right? Unity version will do a restart. If you do not have like a 5 or 6 or something similar to mine, then your Unity might not restart, right? So this might take a while. Let's see how the message pops up saying that we're going to be restarting Unity. Let's give it a moment. So meanwhile, if you have questions, let's see what we have for questions. Yes, is LiDAR more powerful than an Android device? Okay, cool question. So LiDAR is actually a sensor. So I have an Apple device right here. There you go. Okay, disrupting the question for a moment. You can see that because I have version 5.0.6, it asks me whether it's okay to restart Unity, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and click yes. Okay. You keep me in suspense. All right, so I'm going to continue. So LiDAR is the small sensor that's right over here. I'm not sure whether you can see this, but over here you'll see a small hole, right? Oops. There you go. Over here. This is the LiDAR sensor. What it does is it gives you additional information. Yeah, 3 cameras in. If you have an iPhone device, Android device, you will not see any LiDAR sensors. It's available only on Apple. It's a sensor which has like immense capabilities of understanding the world around you, right? Okay, I guess Unity 2020 don't have what I supposed to see your screen. Only see Unity UI. All right, let me just give you a quick. So this is a different version of the same project. But what you need to do is click Window and choose Package Manager. Right, and make sure you are in Unity Registry. right? If you don't see this, just look at your screens around and see whether you can find the package manager. It's Window, Package Manager. You have to click this in order to get this. It's kind of like a pop-up window that only comes out when you select Window, Package Manager. Got it? I have Package Manager open. Okay, cool. Yes, so Unity registry is over here. Packages Unity registry is over here. See? If you don't find everything, make sure you've chosen Unity registry. If you've chosen something else, you'll not be able to see AR Foundation. Choose Unity registry. Aha, there you go. Okay. Now I think my other project is done installing the AR Foundation package. Yeah, of course, it is confusing. That's why I've been telling you. It's very confusing. Okay, so I'm going to be building my app to an Android device, right? So AR Foundation by itself is not going to work. It's AR Foundation is not going to work by itself. What we need is another foundational SDK in order for AR Foundation to work. So AR Foundation by default, it's not going to work. Because I'm using an Android device, I'm going to install AR Core SDK as well, right? Because as I mentioned to you before, Google uses AR Core, which is used by AR Foundation to show the face effect, right? So I'm going to scroll down and find Google, and there you go. You can see Google AR Core XR plugin, right? Google AR Core XR plugin, and I'm going to install that. What you need to make sure is that the version that you're installing should be the same as the AR Foundation version. If those two are different, then it's going to cause trouble, right? Exactly. So as he says, if you kind of feel are a little bit hard to follow this, don't worry. We're going to be sharing the recording of this. But if you can follow along with me, that's amazing. Okay, so I'm going to download and install Google AR Core XR plugin. If you have an Apple device, what you need to do is you need to download Apple AR Kit XR plugin, right? I'm not going to be using Apple AR Kit XR plugin because it doesn't work on a Windows machine. As David says, Apple is a cult. So if you want to build for your Apple device, you need to have a Mac, right? You need to have an Apple. You need to have all Apple devices to build for Apple. But you can develop, right? You can develop, copy the project to an Apple device and do that. No worries, you can do that. Anyway, now as you can see, what I did was I installed Google AR Core XR plugin, and also I downloaded and installed AR Foundation package. All right. Yes. All righty. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to be doing some settings changes, right? We're going to be doing some settings-based changes. So you need to follow along with me. I'm going to do this really slow so you can follow along if you're doing it. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Edit, Project Settings, right? Edit, Project Settings, which opens up a different window, says Project Settings. It's in the Edit folder. And I'm going to scroll down these player settings. The first thing that I'm going to do, you will be able to see something called Other Settings. And inside Other Settings, there is something called Graphics APIs, and there's this thing called Welcome, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to select this Welcome and click this minus button, so it's going to be removed. Why we do that? Because Android's Welcome, it's kind of like a graphics API, and it is currently not supported. Sorry, what was the name of the second add-on we installed? It's called Google AR Core XR plugin. Google AR Core XR plugin. If you don't have that, just search for AR Core. If you don't see that, search for AR Core. My bad, I forgot it. If you don't see it that way, just go ahead and search for AR Core, and you'll see something similar. Okay. Yes. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to, okay, so just to give you, like, I think probably you might have missed this. This is what I did. I went to Edit and selected Project Settings. And then from here, the first thing that I did was expanded Other Settings. And there used to be something called Vulkan. I clicked it, and then I selected this minus key right here, minus button right here. If you accidentally deleted this, then you can just click this and click OpenGL ES3 to get it, right? Okay. Another thing that I'm going to do is to scroll down a little bit more and change the minimum API level, right? Change the minimum API level to API level 27. Okay, you see color gamut. If you can see color gamut, you will be able to see graphics API. If you do not see this, make sure that you untick auto graphics API, right? Most probably auto graphics API might have been selected. Just untick this, then you'll be able to see graphics API and remove Vulkan from there. Right. Okay, let's do it quickly. I'm going to scroll down. And what I did was I set the minimum API level to Android 8.1 or Oreo API level 27. And then I'm going to change the scripting backend to IL2CPP. Scripting back into IL2CPP. And then I'm going to change the target architectures to ARM64 and remove ARMv7. Right. So you might wonder, how do you know this, right? You can see Z has posted a link which says AR Core XR plugin. That is actually the documentation of AR Foundation. Just go through there and you'll be able to see some of these settings. But for today, don't worry, just follow along with me. You'll not be getting into any trouble. Okay, so I'm going to do this once more, just once. Okay, in the settings, I made sure that Vulkan graphics APIs are gone, right? And then I scroll down, choose, you can see something like this, which says minimum API level. Change this to API level 27. And then I scroll down a little bit more and set the scripting backend to IL2CPP and tick this. ARM64 and unticked ARMv7. That was it, right? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to XR plugin management, right? XR plugin management. And you can see, like, if you have Android installed only, you will be able to see Google AR Core or AR Core, right? It can be either. It can be AR Core or Google AR Core. Just click this tick. And it's gonna customize your project to work with Google AR Core, right? So just to do it again, I selected XR plugin management, selected Android from over here, and then I chose Google AR Core. Okay, so the settings part is now over. There's a bunch more stuff for us to do. Now, what I'm going to do, if you have opened your project with if you have opened your project with Universal Render Pipeline, there is one thing that you need to do, right? What I have to do is go to Settings, right? Only if you have URP. If you don't open your project with URP, then you will not be able to see this, right? Go to Settings, and let me just zoom it out. And over here, you'll be able to see something called URP Balanced Renderer, URP High Fidelity Renderer, URP Performance Renderer. So what you have to do is select these renderer settings, and in the inspector window right over here, click Add Renderer Feature and select AR Background Renderer Feature. Right, I'm going to do this two more times because I have 2 more assets to do that. click URP something renderer in the settings folder. In the inspector window, click add renderer feature and choose AR background renderer feature. All right, let's do it again. URP something renderer. You have to do it for all three, right? Just like how I did it. Select this inspector window, click add renderer feature and choose AR background renderer feature. So this you have to do only if you have URP. If your project is URP only, you have to do this. Okay, now it is the time for us to actually build something, right? Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is, this is our sample scene. You can see that we already have a sample scene open. So what we're going to do is we're going to right-click the hierarchy, right? Right-click this hierarchy window. Now let's go to XR, right? So if you have an older version, you will be able to see something called AR or AR Foundation, or even XR. If you see this, just select XR and you'll be able to see something like this, a sub menu which has AR debug menu, AR default face, AR default plane, AR session. All right, just go ahead and select AR session. There you go. So we have an AR session game object. And as you can see here, some of these components might be a little bit different for you, which is fine if you have a different version. But what AR session does is it talks to your camera. It talks to your camera and opens up the camera for you. It talks to AR Kit or AR Core and asks your camera to open up for you so you can use it to your project, right? So that is what AR session does. You don't have to do anything. That's the only thing that you have to do. Import AR session. How to do that? Right-click, go to XR or AR Foundation menu, depending on the version you have, and choose AR session. So just like that, let's do it again. Let's right-click, go to XR, and what I'm going to choose is I'm going to choose XR Origin Mobile AR. Sometimes for you, if you depending on your version, this might be a little different. Instead of XR Origin, you will see something called AR Session Origin, or XR Origin without the mobile AR part, right? Or AR Origin, right? So make sure that you have something similar to Origin, right? AR Session Origin, XR Origin, whatever origin it is, just go ahead and click this. Okay, so what this thing does is it kind of creates a camera inside of this, right? So as you can see, we have a small camera inside of this. But in our sample scene, we have another camera. We have a camera that we had already. When you import your AR Session Origin or XR Origin, if you do not have a camera, let me know. Usually you should have a camera inside of this. But don't worry if you have it in a different way. If you have it within the XR Origin or AR Session Origin, it is fine. In the newer version, they put it into another object called camera offset, but that's okay. Both of them works the same way. So I don't need two more cameras here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the main camera that I had before. Gone. Okay. Right. And then if you have URP, you will be able to see something called global volume, which we don't need. So I'm going to delete that too. Go. Right. It's optional. You can keep it or you can just delete it. So far, now our scene has the AR session and XR Origin or AR Session Origin. Okay, so now it is the time for us to build a face tracking feature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click this, right? I'm going to right-click this, and I'm going to go to XR and choose AR Default Face, right? Go ahead and choose AR Default Face. Boop. It will add something called AR default face, and you'll see a bunch of different components in the inspector window. I'm just going to leave it as it is. Right? Click somewhere else and select it again. And you'll be able to see some components. AR face mesh visualizer, mesh collider. There's a bunch of different features. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this mesh renderer. right? So if you are not using URP, you're totally okay. You will be able to see a good material over here. But I'm using URP, but because of that, the material color is like very pink. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that, right? So this is optional. They're going to be changing this anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand the materials, right? Expand the materials over here. And I'm going to click this debug face material. Click over here, click this small dot right over here. And then you'll see something like this, pretty big. Search for something called occlusion. Search for something called white, my bad. White, not occlusion, but white, right? Now, it's actually a white color material, right? It's a white color material. Now what we're going to do is we're going to convert this AR default face to a prefab. A prefab is kind of like a component that we can use like multiple times. We can reuse, right? So currently we have this AR default face object in the scene, which doesn't really have anything. It's just empty. You can't see anything here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to one of my folders. I'm going to use my assets folder. And I'm going to drag and drop this AR default face into the project window, which converts this to blue color object, which obviously has made this a prefab, right? Now I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete this, right? Click AR default face and click delete. We don't have it there, but we have it in the project window. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to click XR origin, right? So far, what we did was we created something called AR default face, and then we converted it to a prefab, right? The only change that we did was we changed the material of that to a white color material. Okay. What if it doesn't allow you to drop it in there? Just make sure that you're dropping it into the assets folder, right? Just drag and drop it over here. Do not drop it here or drop it here or anywhere else. Just drop it on top of the assets folder or somewhere over here. Right? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select XR origin. It doesn't matter, it's fine. Even if you were not able to do it, that's fine for the moment. Right? Select XR origin. And in the inspector window, oh, my cursor has a lag of about a second behind your voice. All right, so that's why I'm trying to be really, really slow. Let's do it. Let's do it again. Right. So what I did was I created an AR default face by right-clicking over here, AR default face, and then I dragged and dropped it into the AR default face. Sorry, to the project window. So I have a prefab over here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select XR origin, right? Select XR origin. And then in the inspector window, I'm going to click add component, right? I'm going to click add component. And I'm going to choose, just you can search over here, AR face manager. Search for something called AR Phase Manager. This needs to be added to the XR origin. Nowhere else but the XR origin. Right? Click AR Phase Manager and select this. And there you go. Now it has a small component added here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this AR default face and I'm going to drop it over here. Okay. So this is something that you have to do to just get your face out there. I'm going to quickly show you how this thing looks like when you do a build, because I'm not going to be doing this until I go to the end of the session, doing the building part. But as you can see here, when you do that, this is what's going to happen, right? When you do that and do a build and run, you'll be able to see like a white color face kind of strapped onto your face, right? Okay, this is just a mid demonstration. It's a mid demo. Okay, so there's one other setting that you have to do is to select your main camera in your scene, right? Select your main camera and make sure, if you scroll down, if you have something called AR Camera Manager, right? If you don't have it, don't do anything, right? If you have in your main camera something called AR Camera Manager, make sure you set the facing direction to user, right? Otherwise, it's going to open up your back camera and it is not working. It's not going to work with your other camera. It's only going to work with your front camera. Okay, so what I did was I selected the main camera. Yeah, just have AR camera inside AR Session Origin. That's okay. So if you have that, just select AR camera and see if you have something called AR Camera Manager. If you don't see it, just leave it. Because in the previous versions, it didn't have these options. So they have added like more options so that it's customizable for us. But that's what I'm doing for the newer version. If you have an older version, that's fine. So this is going to be compatible with the older version and the newer version. All right, so the facing direction, I've set this to user. Nice. So as you can see, that was it. Basically, what XR Origin does is the moment that it sees a face, it kind of creates a copy of this AR default face and kind of strap it onto your face, right? It strap it onto your face. That is what it does. So now what we can do is to modify it, right? We can modify this prefab. Pretty easy stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click this AR default face, right? I double click the prefab. That's what I did, double click the prefab. And now the problem is we don't really have a reference. So for some reason, Unity hasn't actually given us a reference face, so we can strap stuff onto it. We don't really know where our face is. So you might have to do some sort of a guesswork, right? If you want to add like a bunch of spheres or something around you, then you have to do a little bit of a guesswork. But I've made things easier for you by finding a 3D model of a face. So what you can do is go to your AR face filter 3D, the folder that I gave you. This is the package that I gave you. Go to models and you'll see something called canonical face mesh. Canonical face mesh, right? So make sure that you're in the AR default face, right? How to go into that prefab? Just double click on it. If you double click on it, now you're not in the scene, but you're inside the prefab, the 3D, the AR face prefab you created before. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the models and drag and drop this canonical face mesh into this AR default face. Boop. Right, let me just double click and this is what you will see. Look at this. Just drag and drop the canonical face mesh and this is what you will see. Right, so you have like a face mesh, kind of like a reference for you to work around, right? So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a small sunglass. Right, so I've given you a sunglass as well. There is a big sunglass 3D model. What you can do is drag and drop this sunglass into the AR default face as well. You can see it's pretty big. So we might have to do like a lot of scaling. Right, let me just move it over here. I don't even see where my face is at right now. I'm going to do a little bit of scaling. Let me just reset the position of this to 0, 0, 0. Oh, there you go. There is our face. Right. So to do this, you need to have like a little bit of experience moving around in Unity. But even if not, if you just want to just test this out, what you can do is just right-click this AR default face and add like a cube or something. Add a cube. You can use this to scale down, maybe move it up, move it over here, right? Okay. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing any changes over here because it's pretty basic. And when you do the build again, it's going to, appear your face with all the sunglasses and everything, right? I have a project that I did before. So if I go to the prefabs, one other thing, if you have the project, you can use any of these faces just to test it out, right? So I'm going to choose this AR default face mesh one. Let me just double click it. And as you can see here, I don't have that canonical face mesh because after adding all this stuff, I removed that reference 3D model because I don't need it, right? I don't need that. So I have this sunglass 3D model properly, placed into the face mesh. So let's do a small change, small iteration. I'm going to quickly add a 3D text here. Right. You don't need to do this. This is something that I usually do for fun during workshops to make it more, customizable for the workshop itself. I'm going to add like a text here. Okay, so there's going to be something, some sort of a crowdsource element. All right, so I have a sample text right on top of my. Sorry, can you share how to add the sunglass to the scene again? Yes, I will. If you remember, we created that AR default face prefab, right? We created the AR default face prefab, which is this one, right? AR default face. Just go ahead and double click, right? So now you're not in your original scene, but you are in a different place. You are inside the prefab. So this is your reference face mesh. If you want to add a sunglass or anything, you can go to models folder, go to sunglasses, and scroll down, and you can find something called PBR specular glossiness. That's the name of the 3D model. You just have to drag and drop it into the scene. That's it. And then obviously you have to do like you have to scale this down a lot, just like this. And then you can move it around and properly place it. You may have to rotate this as well. There you go. It takes a little while to do that. So for the moment, if you feel struggling to do this, don't worry about it. Just put some random 3D models around your face, right? That's fine, because this is what makes your creativity comes into play, right? You are the one who's creative, and this is where you you perform your creativeness, and that usually takes time. So now let me just show you the other project. So I'm going to make this a little bit more customized. I'm going to change the text here. What do you want as the text? Let me just, there we go. What do you want here as the text? Give me a suggestion. I'm going to make this crowdsourced. Hello world. All right. Any more suggestions? Hello world. Let me change the scale of this. I'm going to scale it down. So if you have an issue, identifying the position, that is why I've given you this canonical face mesh. Just put it in. Threads greater than Twitter. Let's make a message. Threads greater than Twitter. Yeah, just make sure that Elon Musk wouldn't say this. All right. So that is pretty much it, right? So let me go to scenes. So if I drag and drop this face mesh, this is what you will see. There is one thing that I want to explain, right? In augmented reality, there is something called occlusion, right? Let me just quickly draw it in my whiteboard. Now, let's take this example, right? We have this David's example. Now, the problem is, this is David's face, and this is the canonical face mesh. Sorry, the face mesh that we added, the white one that kind of wrapped around my my face. And this was a 3D model. Now the problem is, if I move my face, so that my ear is here, right? The problem is that when it renders, right? When it renders the 3D model renders like this. So this part, which is behind my head, is now going to be visible. It's going to be visible just like this, you know? It's going to be visible. So this is the ear, this is the eye, and the sunglass is going to be visible like this. And it's not very immersive, right? Because you can see something that is behind. Because we are creating an illusion, it's really hard for us to understand different objects that is going behind the 3D model, right? Because from the camera, we just get a 2D picture, right? So we somehow has to create a different illusion that your face is kind of covering the other side of the spectacle, right? So let me just expand myself. Now I'm wearing an actual spectacle, right? So if I do this over here, you can see this this arm from here to here only. You will not see it like this, right? If you see it like this, then it doesn't make the immersion. It's kind of wrapped around my head, but you can see the head. So what we're doing is we're trying to do a small mimic, right? Where we are mimicking. We are going to mimic it. To do this, we are using something called a occlusion, right? So just to show you an example, this is my canonical face mesh, right? This is the canonical face mesh. Let me just see if I can move the sunglass to over here, so it's kind of visible. There we go. Let me rotate it. Okay. There you go. Right. Now, because we have a 3D model here, obviously it's not very, it's not visible. So what we do is we select this mesh, right? We select this mesh, and we need to find a material. Let's go to this assets folder over here. We have materials, and we have two different materials. One is called occlusion, and the other one is called white, right? If I drag and drop white, this is the white material that kind of wrapped around my face. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop this occlusion material over here. And as you can see here, because this is an occlusion material, it kind of hides what's coming from behind the face, right? It's transparent. It's a transparent material, but at the same time, it hides. See, it hides whatever that you have behind the 3D model. It hides it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our prefab. Sorry, we're going to select our AR default face, and from here we're going to change this mesh renderer material, this white material. I'm going to drag and drop this occlusion material, or I can just click this dot right here and select occlusion. Now the wrapping face, the face that wrapped around me, the one that I demoed you, it's going to be an occlusion material. So whatever the 3D model behind my face will not be visible. So if I move my head like this, the sunglass or the spectacle will go behind my face. It will not go behind my face, but it will just give you the illusion that it is behind your face. So that is known as occlusion. So you learn something new. Now let's do a quick build, right? Let's do a quick build because I am using this AR default face mesh one, which says exactly, right? Threads is greater than Twitter. So I'm going to do a build, right? So how to do a build? I'm just going to quickly show you. The build would take a little bit of time. So before that, in order to discuss about our products, I'm going to hand it over to Tyler. But let me just quickly show you how to do the build. You have to go to File, Build Settings, and then from here, you need to make sure that your scene, in my case, it is known as demo. In your case, it should be something called sample scene, right? So my Android device is now connected, right? It's now connected. What you can do is just go ahead and do a build and run, right? So if you have an Android device, so it's a separate discussion. Maybe you can hop over to our Discord space and you can ask questions on like if you have any issues with this. But what I've done is I've connected my phone here, and then I'm going to do a build and run. Let me just rename this as build 3. I'm going to click save, and this is going to take a little bit of time. So until that, in order to answer until I answer all the questions, I'm going to hand the stage back to Tyler so he can continue the rest of the presentation. I'm going to be back with the demo of this as well as the questions and answers session.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Indy. And as Indy said, he's going to be back up here shortly to share a little bit more, and then we're going to go through some Q&A as well. For now, I am going to share the screen again here with everybody so that I can share a little bit of course information. Here we go. Perfect. So, like I said, Indy's going to come back up. We're going to go through some Q&A, but just in case anybody is interested in the courses that we have coming up, the course start dates, you're certainly welcome to register with us. You just have to let somebody know here at CircuitStream, but we do offer 2 different packages for the courses. We have one starter package that would include the XR course themselves. This is great for people who already have a bit of experience in coding or design. If you're a complete beginner or you wish to have a little bit more time with an industry expert, then we do also offer the Plus package option. With the Plus packages, you'll gain access to on-demand intro courses in order to prepare you for the 10-week courses. And then for XR development, you would gain access to a beginner course on C# coding. And for design, you would gain access to a beginner course on UX design fundamentals for XR. So, and then you can also see the pricing information here up on the screen. Again, this whole presentation is recorded. So if you wanted to reference this afterwards, you will get a copy of this presentation sent to you via email. And the pricing information is also available on our website there. We do offer different financing options depending on which region you are from. For students located in the United States, we partner with a company called Climb, and we are able to offer monthly payment options for those students. If you are in Canada or in any other countries outside of the US, you can take advantage of our deferred payment plans instead that are offered directly through CircuitStream. Once you're ready to apply, our enrollment advisors can help answer any questions that you might have about the courses, the pricing, the payment options, basically just walk through the process with you and make sure that you pick the right option across the board for all of those. And then we typically run the course every few months, but our upcoming cohorts are on July 25th and September 6th. And then right after that, we also have October 3rd and October 25th. So if any of these dates interest you, you can contact us and let us know, and we can be sure to secure a spot for you. I'm not quite sure how much availability we still have for the upcoming ones on July 25th and then September 6th, but in the case that we were full, we can certainly guide you to the next available cohort there, but just reach out and let us know, and we can certainly take a look. And now we are going to do the Q&A, but I'm actually going to pause there for a second and invite Indika back up onto the stage so that he can kind of share a little bit of the results from the workshop. If they're not ready yet, we can tackle a question or two, but if it is ready, I'll let you kind of take that back over there, Indy.
Yeah, fortunately, it was ready right when you say we need to open. Let me share my screen here. For some reason, the text is swept to the other side. All right, there you go. You can see it, right? So you can see the. I'm not actually wearing my my spectacles, so I have like a spectacle inception. What's it called? Spectacle inspection, right? Inception right here. And I don't know. For some reason, the text is swept. So in the 3D prefab, we have to like swap the 3D text. So this will come up as cool. And as you can see, when I move my head, you will be able to see right over here. Oops. You will be able to see right over here. Where you go? Oh, there you go. That it's kind of, let me just remove my spectacles. You can see it's hiding the other side of the arm, right? Let me just close it. And there you go. And that is how you build an AR Foundation face tracking filter without using a single line of code.
Awesome. Awesome. I can see there's some comments here. Mine's still building, very excited. Yeah, this is great. This is awesome. Just going through this process and then getting to see the final results here at the end. So what we can do full transparency, I took a quick glance at the questions, and I believe they're all going to be a little bit more in your field than they will be in mine. I know that you were answering quite a few of them as we went through the presentation, which was great. But I think there are a few here, Indy, that we can probably put up. So you might know, well, you'll definitely know this more than me. Let's do this one to start.
Yeah, is LiDAR more powerful than an Android device? Yeah, so that is what I've been explaining to David when he asked the question. So LiDAR is actually a sensor. It's a hardware sensor, and it recognizes the environment without a software implementation. So usually there is an algorithm called SLAM. And when you move around only, it has the capability to understand the world around you. So you might have seen like the earlier versions of AR applications. You have to like move your phone like this and scan. Sir, do this, right? So when you do this only, the algorithm is capable of understanding the obstacles around you. But with LiDAR, you don't need to do that, because LiDAR sends a light from the server, from the sensor, and then it automatically recognizes the depth and the obstacles around you. So that is why LiDAR is important. So if you're obviously using your device for augmented reality or like 3D scanning or something similar, obviously having a LiDAR sensor device is more useful.
Awesome. Yes. See, you were much more capable of answering that question than me, that's for sure. And I do apologize, Indy, if you did answer any of these during the presentation. I still like to put them up sometimes just in case anybody missed the question during the presentation. So I'll put this one up here. It's very difficult to create the same app or migrate from one to another with different operating systems, iOS, Android. Is there any way to set that up in Unity and publish to multiple devices?
Obviously, with Unity, you can publish to multiple devices, but there are some factors that you need to consider. For example, currently, for today's presentation, I use a Windows device. I use my Windows machine, and Windows has the capability to build for Android devices. But if you're building for iOS or Apple or any other platform, you will not be able to do that. You will be able to develop. Of course, you'll be able to do all the changes in Unity. But to develop, when you do a build, what it gives you is another project which can be opened from another software called Xcode. This is just for Apple. So Xcode is an application built by Apple, and it only runs in Apple devices. So there are some additional steps that you have to take further, that you have to do in order to build this onto your Apple device. But I have done that, so it's not that very hard. It's pretty easy. Right now, it might take a little bit of time if I wanted to explain it right now. So I'd strongly recommend you to hop into our Discord channel. Maybe one of our team members can share the invite link if possible. But just hop into it, and then I'm there, so you can just ask me, or you can just put it into the tech support channel, and there is some instructor is going to help you out in with the steps of how to actually build this. But in terms of the development, setting the whole thing up, you don't really need to worry, because it's pretty much the same thing for all the different operating systems. When it comes to AR Foundation and mobile devices, it only works with iOS and Android. It doesn't work with any other AR device, but it also has the support for Microsoft HoloLens, as well as another device called Magic Leap. Right, so those are the only devices that it supports right now. AR Foundation Unity keeps on adding more platform support. Just go to the AR Foundation's documentation, and you'll find a lot of information about the supported platforms.
Awesome. Thank you. And I I don't know if this overlaps. I feel like it's slightly different question, but I'll let you take a look at this one as well and just kind of weigh in on it quickly there. But if you want to make an app for both iOS and Android, should you download both, or should they be separate projects?
No. If you remember, I mentioned that you have to download AR Core if you have an Android device. But if you have an iOS device, you just have to download AR Kit. Having both of those packages installed in the same project, it doesn't make any harm. You can do that. The only thing that you have to do is you can keep the same project, but you can publish to different operating systems. Pretty much similar to what I said before. You just have to go to build settings and change the platform. That's it. Otherwise, like building the same project twice is a time waste. So we don't need to do that with Unity.
Perfect. And then it looks like we've answered a bunch of questions. There's just one here that says, will you provide a recording of the session? I know I mentioned it a couple times, and I think we've already answered it, but just in case anybody didn't catch it or they joined a little bit later, we will be sending a recording out to everybody who's registered for this event. So you will get a copy of the full event there. How to connect to my Android device. It does not show up on the build settings. I don't know if we can overlap with this already as well, but I'll bring this one up here.
Yes. So just to quickly show you how to do this, I know that this is going to be a part of the recording, but because it's going to be a part of the recording, I'm just going to quickly go through this. Let me quickly show you. The first thing that you need to do is go to your settings, right, and go all the way down and see if you have developer options. Right? If you don't have developer options, what you need to do is go to About Phone and go to Software Information or something very similar to this. And you have to keep tapping the build number 5 times. It's pretty fun, but you keep tapping the build number 5 times. You can see when you do that, it shows you a small notification at the bottom, right? It says developer mode has already been turned on, but for you, like for the first time, it's not going to be like that. Just go ahead and do this for 5 times, and then it will take you over here, right? Developer options. Go here, and then make sure that you scroll all the way down and enable USB debugging, right? Enable USB debugging, and then connect your device to your PC. And then in your device, it's going to ask a question saying, do you want this to be connected? Just say yes. And then over here, do a refresh, and you'll be able to see the connected devices. So by any chance, if you have any errors or any build issues or anything, don't worry. So I'm going to be there in our Discord channel for the rest of the day. Not just me, all of our instructors are going to be there. So if you can hop in and just send a message in our tech support, we are happy to help you out there.
Perfect. Thank you, Indy. And then this is kind of a broad question, like what is the job market for augmented reality? I can speak on my side a little bit just because I do a little bit of business development for the company, and I have a lot of conversations in that area. Augmented reality used to kind of just live in one space, and now it's, in my opinion, it's expanding and being used by all different types of companies technologies. It's being used for education, for training, for just a million different industries right now. So the market itself, I mean, if you wanted more detailed information, you could also reach out to somebody at CircuitStream, and we could provide a little bit more on that. But overall, it's expanding. It's growing. It's expanding. It's large. With things like Apple releasing new headsets and those things on the frontier here, it looks like we're going to be expanding even further. So the job market, it's kind of a hard question to just answer outright, like what is the job market like for AR? But it's quite large right now. We have a lot of students finding a lot of success, and it is growing quite rapidly as the technology kind of finds its way into all the different industries for training and education and everything else I mentioned there. So does that sound accurate, Indy?
Yeah, that is. It actually depends on like which field you're in. Like for example, there has been a lot of traction when it comes to entertainment, media, and marketing. Like people are creating these filters like this for for marketing activations. But on the other hand, there are like AR wearable AR wearable industry. Like, as you know, Apple came out with Vision Pro, and like they've they've been marketing it as an augmented reality product, even though it's a virtual reality device. So that means there is potential. So Apple, as you know, as a big company, as an innovative company, they don't really take a step without actually trying to understand what the future is going to look like. So obviously, AR is going to be a very big part of our future. And there are companies like Niantic, Snapchat, like investing heavily on augmented reality. Even Apple and Google, they are heavily investing on these technologies to make it more friendly, right? Like 5 years back when I started AR, like it's nearly impossible to build a face filter this easily. Right now, you don't even need code, just put it out there and you have everything. You just have to be creative.
Absolutely. Oh, perfect. And hopefully that answered the question about the market there for you. We took it from both different angles here, but and then this one, I'll tackle this one. It came through from one of the people in the chat. Do we have to have Snapchat app installed to follow along with the next workshop? So just for anybody who is aware, our next workshop is going to be taking place next week on the 26th. It is Snapchat, and we're going to be focusing on Lens Studio and Camera Kit. So for anybody who's joining along on that one, it would probably be helpful to have Snapchat downloaded or to have Camera Kit or Lens Studio in general. But the session itself is more of an information session. It's not necessarily a live workshop. So we're not going to be, there isn't going to be an indica on stage kind of walking you through step by step next week. It's going to be a little bit more of an information share on how you can use Camera Kit, how you can use Lens Studio, and then, in conjunction with Unity and just how those kind of play together. But if you have any more detailed questions for the speakers next week as well, I'd be happy to connect you directly to them. So yeah, just let us know if you have any questions leading up to it, but I don't think you have to have it because it's not an actual physical workshop we're running through, a little bit more of an information session. But if you want it to kind of reference what they're speaking about, you can certainly download it and have all of that kind of ready to go. So that is that one. And right after that workshop next week on the 26th is information session. And then on the 27th is another information session from Circuit Stream, where we're going to be sharing a little bit about some of our courses and general information. So for everybody here today, feel free to join us next week for both of those. Again, 26th will be Snapchat. That'll be at 12 p.m. Pacific time. And then the following day will be our information session for the courses, which will also be at 12 p.m. Pacific time. So, so thank you. I think we've tackled all the questions here, Indy, that we had on the side. I'm going to take a quick look at the chat to see if there's anything else that came through.
I don't think we have shared the Discord link invitation. I'm just going to put a link over here. Just click it and hop over to our channel.
Perfect. Yeah, and then I can see that Z from our team also shared the upcoming workshops. So feel free to click that link if you'd like to attend for the ones next week or for any of the ones that we have posted and coming up. And then click on the Discord link that Indy just shared there if you have any questions for him about today's workshop, or if you just want to chat with Indy in general and just kind of pick his brain or ask some questions. He's happy to kind of connect that way. So there we go. Perfect. That's been shared. So awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. We look forward to seeing all of you at the upcoming workshops. We hope you have a wonderful day. And I'm just going to take a quick moment and say thank you again, Indy, for sharing the information with us. That was perfect. It was awesome. So yeah, thank you on behalf of Circuit Stream. We just want to wish everybody a great day, and we will see you all next week. And we just got a comment, Indy, you rock.
Looking forward to seeing you in the Discord channels.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.